I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing well. Great to talk to you again. And let's before we get to the fight, let's go to the Birds and Tampa Bay and get your thoughts on the Tampa Bay Bucks and what they've been able to do. We talked before the season started about Jameis Winston and the fact that, he's still rookie, he's going to make mistakes, but you're starting to see a team kind of buy into this kid, and he makes some plays with his legs. What's your overall assessment of Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I remember that conversation. I'm feeling smarter and smarter every day. Every time I see him win a game, even like last week, a game they probably had no business winning. But Dallas was like the guy with the last slice of pizza. No, you have it. You take it. Honest, it's okay. And they did. So you got to give them credit for making plays. They got 4 wins after 9 games. I mean, last year I think they had 2 wins after 16. So you can't argue that. He's on a roll, and I think they're only going to get better because a good player like that makes the other players better, makes them think, hey, maybe we're not so bad after all. We can win some games. They start adding some more tools around him, and who knows what they can do.
Yeah, is there a belief down there where they know they understand he's a rookie and he's probably going to have good games and bad games, but they'll take that risk because there are some times where his legs will extend drives. Saw it last week, saw it against the Giants game. They had a couple big runs as well from the line of scrimmage. He made some throws. So are they in the mindset, look, when he has the ball, if he wants to pull the ball down and run, we're going to let him make mistakes because we also know that sometimes he can make a big play with his legs?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I mean, I think you can look at that whole roster and say, who's our best weapon, and it's going to be him. So, they're going to live and die with him, and he'll incorporate teammates at times. But if they say, hey, there's 2 minutes left, we're down 4 points, Jameis, go win us the game, I think they're as comfortable with him trying to do it as anybody else on that team.
Is there any different mindset defensively, knowing that Bradford's going to be out and they're going to go against Mark Sanchez on Sunday?
Well, as a lifelong New York Jets fan, I can tell you that any team getting ready to play Mark Sanchez probably smiles a little bit. So I'm sure the Bucs would a little bit, although this time last year, he played Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. He looked like John Elway for a week, and then eventually became Mark Sanchez again. Sanchez is a decent quarterback, and there are some games where he can make plays, and there are some games where he makes really ridiculously bad plays, as Eagles fans will see over the next couple of weeks as he plays. I don't know that the mindset changes too much. I mean, Mark can probably do a little bit more with his legs than Sam can anymore. But if you just got to sit back and wait for Mark to make an error, you got a 50-50 chance of him actually doing it.
I can't argue that. I think we've seen enough, both of us, with Sanchez throughout the course of his career to make that assertion. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Haven't talked in a while with you. A little sweet sign, some boxing. Cotto taking on Alvarez. It's a great matchup. Puerto Rico versus Mexican, Puerto Rican fighter, Mexican fighter. And I think this can be the most entertaining fight of the year. And I know everyone's talking about Cotto being stripped because he declined to pay a $300,000 sanctioning fee. So I guess, you can still consider the much-regarded lineal middleweight champ. I don't buy into any of that crap. I really don't. The bottom line is you've got a fighter in Cotto. His last 3 fights with Roach has looked very impressive, even though you can talk about the opponents. You have a younger guy in Alvarez that is the bigger, stronger, younger fighter, faster fighter. Give me a little bit of an analysis on this fight, and who do you give the edge to?
Yeah, you can forget the belts here. I mean, this is just a big-time fight. You got 2 guys who are, arguably, if not legitimately, in the top 10 pound for pound in the world, or if not the top 15 or the top 20, regardless. Both have good resumes. Both have been, high-profile guys for the last couple of years. So if the WBC wants to call it a title fighter, if they don't, it's still a good fight. It's worthy of a Saturday night spot. Young lion, old lion. Cotto has looked refreshed the last couple of fights. How much of that is Freddie? How much of that is Delvin Rodriguez and Daniel Gil and a one-legged Sergio Martinez? I don't know. But, and Canelo's got to prove himself. The biggest fight he's ever been in, he got shut out by Floyd. Cotto gave Floyd a lot better fight, actually made Floyd Mayweather in an interesting fight, which you don't see very often. So, I don't think you can argue that it's as good a pay-per-view fight going in as we've seen all year. Some people thought Mayweather-Pacquiao was going to be a slugfest. A lot of people didn't. This one, I don't think anybody would say, no, this is going to be a dull fight. So, one way or the other, you're going to be entertained Saturday night.
Well, 2 things you mentioned, too. The new tutelage under Freddie Roach, and it looks like he's actually rediscovered his superb left hook. Cotto's a body puncher. All the fighters from the islands, we know they're body fighters, they're body punchers. But you also mentioned the fight against Mayweather, but yet he came back and he looked absolutely lost against Austin Trout. If I were to handicap this, I look at Cotto trying to box a smart fight and use that experience and box around Canelo and kind of disrupt his rhythm, frustrate him a little bit. I can see that happening early on in the fight, But then I look at a bigger Canelo, a stronger Canelo, youth on his side, speed, physicality, where he might be able to catch Cotto at the right time. I don't know if he's looking for that one spectacular punch and then knockout, but I'd have to, I'm looking at this fight. If I'm a pure fan, my heart says Cotto, but my head's saying Canelo's going to win it on points.
You can certainly make that argument. I mean, I think Cotto's got a better skill set, and he's got a bigger resume, and he's been doing it. He's a more proven commodity. I think, if you were going to look at one of his past fights and say, okay, if he applies that model Saturday night, he'll win, I think you'd look at the second Margarito fight. He had a rampaging bull in front of him, and he used angles, and he moved, and he was smart. He punched in combination. He got out of trouble when he needed to. Whether or not Margarito and today's Canelo Alvarez are an exact match, not so much. I think Alvarez got more of a toolbox than Margarito ever did. But I think if he's a smart fighter and he keeps it a distance and he uses his legs, he can win the fight. Now, whether he can do that for 12 rounds against a 25-year-old guy who probably is not going to go away anytime over 36 minutes, there's your question. And, Cotto's always been one of those guys like Evander used to be.
Yep.
He wants to box. He'll give you this blueprint. As soon as he gets hit, he's a fighter again. And, if he gets hit in the third round, you might have 9 rounds of war after that.
One more before I let you get out of here. Great insight as always. When you look at the divisions right now in boxing, and we all know how sexy and hot the welterweight division is, I actually start to say to myself, wow, the middleweight division, not that it's coming back, it's never been away, but I'm actually taking a little more stock and a little more excitement when it comes to the middleweight division.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think one of the most talked about fighters in the sport right now, if not the most, is Golovkin. I mean, he's got all the HBO crowd riled up. He's knocking out everybody in front of him. You want to argue he hadn't fought Marvin Hagler? I'll give you that. But everybody they've put in front of him for the last couple of years, he's blown away. At some point, I talked to Oscar this week. He says, listen, the fight's going to get made. It may get made after a trilogy with Cotto. It may get made after a couple other things. But eventually, Golovkin's going to fight Alvarez.
Wow.
And, that's kind of the fight that you want to see Golovkin in against a guy who people perceive could test him. And that would be fantastic. I mean, it looks like Andre Ward's not going to happen.
No.
And I don't see Golovkin going up to fight Kovalev or anybody like that. So maybe we sit and wait for another 12 months and, we get rewarded by Canelo and Golovkin, which would be a heck of a fight.
Listen, I have no problem spending that type of money on those fighters or Cotto, a Cotto and an Alvarez fight where these guys are going to come and fight and put it all on the line. But, again, I'm not dropping 100 or so to watch two guys dance in the ring. And you can say, you can say I'm still salty and soured by the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I am. I think it was a disgrace.
Well, you should be. It was
a disgrace.
You went in thinking you were going to get $100 worth. You didn't. I mean, the biggest attraction about seeing those two guys in a ring together was just that. It finally happened after 7, 8, 10 years, whatever you want to say the lead-in was. You finally had them in a ring. There was no guarantee it was going to be a great fight, and obviously it turned out not to be.
No, we all knew.
Yeah, anybody who was more than a casual fan knew that the more boring that fight was, the better it was going to be for Floyd. And Manny didn't have the tools to make it any more than that. But Cotto and Canelo, this is a fight. I mean, I can't see either one of them turning into Floyd Mayweather overnight between now and this time tomorrow night. So, this is going to be a fight. Which guy wins? I lean toward Canelo a little bit. You can lean toward Cotto. But either way, after 36 minutes, you're going to say, hey, let's see that again. This is all right.
Yeah, and that's what boxing needs. We certainly we enjoy that. That's why we cover the sport. All right, Fitzy, great catching up. We'll do a little recap next week on the fight. Enjoy the NFL games. Enjoy the fight on Saturday night, pal.
Will do, sir. Same to you.